All right, my friends, in just one short minute, we will be continuing our celebrations with Unity's Indie Celebration. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome. Y'all look so excited, energetic. So, all right, in a second here, I'm going to say, how you doing today? And you're going to be like, good, you know, and I'm going to be like, we can do better than that. Let's try it again. And then you're going to be good, you know, all right? Let's skip all that. And just when I say, how you doing today, I just want you all just to go bananas, right? We can do that? You guys, you ready? No? I didn't ask. Not yet. We're getting there. Ready? Okay. Let it build. How y'all doing today? Woo! You can do better than that. No, I'm joking. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Mike Geig, Principal Advocate at Unity Technologies. Welcome to the Unity Indie Celebration. We're here with a couple great speakers. Chris Zukowski, Xalavier Nelson Jr. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Chris Zukowski, and I write a blog called howtomarketyourgame.com. And I kind of say I'm like the free analyst that every indie gets. I'm like a little fairy godmother that just comes in and drops off some charts and stuff for people if you want it. You don't have to take it. But that's it. That's my bit.
I'm Xalavier Nelson Jr. I've worked on over 110 games in the past 10 years. Indie to AAA, original licensed IP. I believe in shipping games and surviving shipping and getting better on your next project and taking care of people. So I'm excited to contribute in the small way I can to this panel and to games.
Yeah, let's hear for these speakers, right? Yeah, that's awesome. I knew as a kid growing up, I was always like excited in the morning to wake up and find charts under my pillow. So they're always really great. So I guess to kick this off, the first thing we wanted to ask is, you know, you're obviously both so very involved in marketing and in releasing titles and stuff. What are some of these trends that you're seeing out there that developers should be aware of?
I think one of the biggest trends that people should be aware of is that games at every scale are working, and that scares people because there is no strat, there is no meta, there is a lot of great insights you can get on Chris's blog, but the idea that a single type of game is what sells is what kills studios more often than anything. So we have really tiny games that come out and have a huge impact, and then big games that do nothing, or also have a giant impact. Having your own creative center and building your own creative voice and audience becomes more important than ever in that landscape, I think. Are you seeing that, Chris?
Absolutely, 100%. And the other thing that I say, and Xalavier is a perfect example of this. Is smaller games that are made faster are getting just as much respect as like you said, those longer games. So, we kind of call some of these terms, like the friend slops or the idle games of the world. There's lots of genres out there, the horror games that can be made in a small amount of time. It's not like you get rewarded for grinding for years on your game. So I think don't think that effort equals results. It just depends on a great idea.
And to speak directly to that, like, though you talk about certain genres that can be made quicker, I Am Your Beast is our best performing game to date. That's an action game, and we made it in 10 months.
Exactly.
So no one knows what works.
And that's the thing. You don't know. You don't know. Like, if anybody, people will come up to me all the time and show me. They're like, "Will this game work?" And I'm like, "I do not know. I can honestly can't tell you. You just have to take a lot of shots."
Yeah.
I think that's it, right? It's trying a lot of things, finding that magic. You're not going to just be like, this is the formula. Because if that was the formula, then that would be the formula and it would be solved and we wouldn't be here right now. So that's awesome. Anything else, I know you're saying that every type of game has a chance to work and it's not about this, it's not about that. But are there any specific things, specific genres where you're like, okay, well, this is maybe played out, or maybe people are really, really kind of pushing this right now, or anything kind of like that comes to mind?
Do I have to
let
break
you go first.
feelings? Do I have to hurt feelings already? I just got me so excited.
Might as well get to it, man.
We'll share the responsibility. You say one, and then I say one, and then we'll just watch what faces drop as they realize they're making.
Yeah. Let's ready. No. Okay, I'll go. This one, I won't be as specific, but I think some things some RPGs take so long to make that the dev actually burns out before the game actually gets released. And it's not that RPG is actually it sells very well on Steam. It's one of the top genres, but it is so hard to make. And I always tell people, RPGs are basically like 4 or 5 games melded together into one. So if you try and make an RPG, you are signing up for a lot. And so what I always recommend is whatever your favorite thing about an RPG is, whether it's the story, the world, the tactics of the combat, whatever it turns out that you like the best of RPGs, slice off that game and make just that. Get your chops in, and then you can later make the full RPG. So that's I did a little bit of the good and the bad, right? A little bit.
You spared yourself, and you've put me in the scene.
Now you have to break all the hearts out there. So you break it.
It's not that rough. The deck builders are deeply saturated, and if you're Slay the Spire 2, you can do really well. Congratulations, you made Slay the Spire 2. For everyone else, you'll sometimes see a deck builder take off, but the rule of thumb we have, at least inside the studio, I run a studio called Strange Scaffold. We just released Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator, which doesn't have a Steam tag that it aligns with. Our rule of thumb is if a bunch of people are flooding a genre, like friend slot games, cooperative multiplayer online games, or deck builders, that means that even more people than the folks you already see on Steam are going there right now, pitching to publishers. You are part of a sea of faces. So, if you're making a friend slot game or a deck builder, know that every journalist is getting dozens, if not hundreds, of pitches for a friend slot game. They're getting dozens, if not hundreds, of pitches as a publisher for a deck builder. And if you can still make it in a way that you're proud of and that you want to make that type of game, cool. If what you're saying is that's popular, this is my shot, every other person in this room is doing that too. And that's, again, why it's so important to build an audience for the type of things you do and to be standing out in that space, because otherwise you come out at the same time as Slay the Spire 2, and everyone plays Slay the Spire 2.
What an awesome and convenient segue into my next question here.
Didn't even plan it.
I know, right? Just magic up here, magic. So, I would argue, or I'd maybe push back and say that because there's an abundance of this type of game, there's a market, there's people that really like it, right? And so that's, I think a lot of the reasons devs double down and go into these things that they know are pretty saturated. So if that is anyone here, if you're like, I am going to make this game, how do you stand out? As you just said, the key is to build that community and stand out. How do you do that?
So on our side, a lot of it is, among other things, building an audience for the game from the moment it begins conception. There was a point of time, especially when everyone was doing world premieres, and we would talk to publishers or platforms, and they're like, well, if you've already talked about it, it can't be a world premiere, so we can't help you. And the studio nearly died, and I got really tired, and I said, fuck it. When we have key art, we talk about the game. And the degree to which that has changed the conversation around our titles, the way we can set expectations, in real time build people's care for both our team and what the game is, that has been gigantic. So having people identify and connect with the voices behind the game, why they make it, how they make it, what is this decision? You can't do this one thing in your game that players ask for. That isn't a weakness. That is an opportunity to say, here's why we cut that feature. We did it for you. And people really connect with that intentionality in a sea of people who just want to tell you, it's big, it's good, please buy my game. You stand out by being a person.
Got anything to add to that?
Kind of. I wanted to take a few steps back about the kind of, more the mentality to have. And I think you really cannot predict what is going to make you stand out. And I think you should all take the approach, and Xalavier is a great example of this, where you just take a lot of swings. And I think that the most successful devs that I see now are ones that will just put up 1-month prototypes up on itch. And that's a totally legit thing. You're not ruining your game's chances if you put a couple games out on itch really quick, and you'll find some games just have that magic. And I call it magic all the time because I don't know why some games do it. They just, the team doesn't even have to market them. They just take off and they go crazy. And sometimes the games that they try and force to have happen, they think this is the one, never happen. And you know real quick when a game's got it or it doesn't. And it's almost instantaneous. And it can be as simple as an itch demo or a demo on Steam, or even like something you upload onto social media that's like a short video clip. You just know it fast. And so what I'd like you all to do is just have that mentality of, I don't know if this is going to be a hit, but I'm going to go fast, and we're just going to put it up there and see what happens. And then if it's not clicking, if nobody's liking it, don't fall in love with that game. And I recommend just kind of moving on maybe to something else or trying some other little experiment and going from there. I don't think you can grind it out. Whenever I hear devs like, we're just gonna force it, and it just doesn't happen.
And it's not just prototypes either, it's shipping.
Yeah.
So the thing that builds an audience for your games and for your voice isn't, wow, I played 3 cool demos by that person. It's, I played a game. I know people who have fallen in love with what are frankly some of the worst games I've ever made, and that caused them to play the rest of my things because they're finished games that were released and said and did something. If you are not shipping, if you are waiting until the game is good enough, if you are waiting to feel validated by the project itself or by the publisher that you've always been wanting to pick you up to finally sign it, that is a danger zone. And shipping games is how you learn how to ship games better and how you build people caring about your next game. That's particularly relevant as a journalist because I spent 6 years as a journalist before I was in dev. When a developer had shipped something and an email popped up or a video popped up, instantly I had a reason to care. In thousands of games, hundreds of emails, and you can't understate the impact of that.
And I just want to actually point out something that Xalavier did specifically. If you search my blog for Xalavier's name, I interviewed you about a year and a half ago. Because you've shipped games before, when journalists are looking to feature you in festivals and stuff, they have his number because they know he ships awesome games, and they call you and stuff, right? And then I'll say like, hey, you got anything cooking? Because they know you do. And so like you build that reputation by shipping, and then journalists know that you have something interesting going. So it's not just one game that's going to do it. It's that reputation of constantly getting stuff out there, releasing, doing good stuff.
And I don't know if I should fully even talk about this, but
Sure.
it
Yes.
extends to a certain privilege for, say, showcase processes or showing your game to platforms. People get this extreme anxiety around, will they like me? If you have a reputation, if you've made stuff before, I have showed people MS Paint doodles and found support for my games off of that.
Would you say it's less about like and more about trust?
It's
You know,
trust.
They trust you, even if even if it's Microsoft Paint. But yeah, they trust it will be a thing.
There's a trust because they know that Strange Scaffold, thanks to the wonderful people I get to collaborate with, and just the way I make games, ships things. Because of my reputation for shipping, I've joined projects, and then that gets a publishing deal or a platform deal or even a conversation because it's known, okay, this demo is rough, or this is just a 5-second piece of footage, but these people involved make something real. You don't get a reputation for that until you make something real, and you keep doing it.
It's like the adage that ideas are only worth so much, it's execution. You have to prove that you can execute, right? One of the things that you said I want to come back to is you talked about like how you can't force it, you put it out there, you see do people like it, and then you go from there. And we're seeing a lot more of this at small agile studio, small 1 to 3 month dev cycle, put a thing out, look for like wish lists or or whatever. In your mind, what are the indicators that someone should be looking for that says, okay, it's not that they like this, that this is commercially viable, I should make this? Like what? Is there a number? Is it a threshold? Like, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, let's pull up the graphs up here. Wait, I really thought if I just said that, a graph would pop up.
That would be amazing, right?
Didn't work. Okay, I'll just list them out. All right, so like I said, with itch, I actually did a study. If you go to howtomarketagame.com/benchmarks, it still doesn't work.
No.
I just really hope it's just going to work.
You freaked me out for a second, too, because I was like, were we supposed to have visuals?
Don't worry, audio-visual team. I'm just fooling with you. No, okay,
The audio-visual team loves that and doesn't get that enough, by the way.
So what I recommend is like howtomarketagame.com/benchmarks. I track these things. And so I've just built a reputation of trust with developers. Well, they'll just send me their data, even unprovoked. They'll just send me data. And so I just start collating it on my site, howtomarketagame.com/benchmarks. And so for like an itch demo, like you can make an itch demo and get content creators to play it. And I found if you can get an itch demo up to about 5,000 plays, like a spike that goes up to about 5,000 plays, that's a really good sign. It's hard to do, but that's a good indicator, hey, this could be something. The other things that I look for are median play time. So if you look at the median play time of a game, I found even for a linear game, I mean, if it's like a half an hour demo or something, a median play time of 25 minutes to 30 minutes is great. If it's a kind of like, builder game that can be endlessly replayable or a roguelike, a median play time of an hour and a half to 2 hours is like fantastic for a demo. I'm still talking about a demo. Other indicators that I look for are if you post it on Reddit. Reddit is so stinky about anything self-promotion, but if your post doesn't get pulled down, that's a good sign. And I've seen games that get, they'll get up to like 76,000 upvotes in a short period of time. That's what I consider. I mean, I get a lot of emails like, we went viral on Reddit. And I'm like, oh, great, how'd it go? And they're like, we got 300 upvotes. And that's great, congrats. But that's not an indicator of like ultimate success, like, okay, this is a project to take. I usually look for something like 76,000 upvotes on Reddit. Other indicators are if a content creator keeps playing your game over and over and over again, the same demo, great sign. Other signs are it just spreads, like other content creators start playing it, or if they start modding your game, even before it's like in demo, even in demo state, they start modding it, and I do see that all the time. That's a good sign. And then if we want to talk the wish list numbers, typically I see like anywhere above 100 wish lists a day. That's pretty good. Or if you see some good spikes that are like 1,000 to 2,000, 3,000 wish lists from like a content creator playing you, all good signs. So those are the kind of the rough things that I see. But again, that benchmark site has a bunch of those metrics that I typically see from developers.
And I want to push back slightly on,
Okay,
we've been talking a lot about short dev cycles, prototypes, finding demo interest.
Yeah.
You also see in development games, you can see similar benchmarks that you can find on howtomarketagame.com/benchmarks. You can find similar benchmarks on long-term development games. I firmly believe that as much as I make games in a shorter period of time, longer dev cycles can and do work when the rest of the business case and the development strategy is built around that. So when Caves of Cud exploded and some people were surprised by that, it's like that game has maintained a community of people who cared about it for 20 years. That's going to explode. Same for Dwarf Fortress. It's a legendary name, but we also never know what's going to do well on Steam. The amount of people who are invested in supporting that development team and this development cycle that's very deeply considered and deliberate and slow and prolonged, that can and does function well Larian, I think, is even a good example where Baldur's Gate 3 had 3 years in development and then a 3-year early access cycle. And when you've got a 3-year early access cycle that people really care about, based around a team that is very empowered, has a lot of technology and data from previous releases to back up what they're doing, a 6-year dev cycle goes from, hold on, maybe don't do that, to it makes sense in the way you're building things. And I think that's why it's so important to note the context of your genre and the things you're making and consider that as part of your development process. Unfortunately, you're already having to build a game from nothing. I'm sorry, but your job is other things too. And those other things is sometimes looking at how other games perform and what other games get built and what makes your game make sense. And if you can't make sense of how your game will achieve success outside of indie game, the movie stardom, then there's probably not either hard data or even a process to allow for that game to exist.
Nice. One last thing, because coming all the way back to what you were talking about at the beginning about being the person and humanizing the process and letting people see it early and all that. What is your opinion on things like devlogs and actually bringing people into the development journey in a very systematic way to humanize the project and build that community? Do you still see that being a vital thing? Is that a thing that you engage in? Like, how would you talk about stuff like that?
I think something I'm seeing across all platforms is that less polished content and presentation of human voices is important, because a devlog that's like really polished, here's our studio, here's a professional documentary crew who's taking an image of someone pretending to work on a 3D modeling program, that doesn't connect you with a person.
Right.
So one of the things we've experimented with is we do a podcast. I said for years I wouldn't be a podcast guy, and now I have a leather jacket and I'm a podcast guy, and I'm worse for it. But every month we do this thing called the Cool Things Club, where we get people from across the studio to just talk about things they're passionate about and how it impacts their creative practice or just their lives. And that is a way you present people to things. I get together these absurd TikToks in my house and in my kitchen and in my room, trying to present a human face to what our games do. And I do that in an hour. And I look insane. And my parents text me sometimes because they're worried.
Are you okay? Yeah.
That's not a good question to ask me. But yeah, the less polished presentation, like devlogs, important, cool, interesting.
I
yes,
meant the less polished devlogs of actually giving people insights into the journey, not the polished marketing. Yeah, that's so.
I think unpolished communication of human intent is huge, and it also, perfect marketing thing, it sets expectations for what your game does and doesn't do. We got headlines for a game we made called Creepy Redneck Dentistry Mansion 3. That man there worked on it. Woo! I'm squinting at you, but it's comedic, hopefully. Yeah. But Creepy Redneck Dentistry Mansion 3, we had a wonderful playtest that also showed people did not understand that game. And we talked publicly about finding a failure point and pivoting. Yeah. And then people wrote articles about it, and people were excited to see, oh, you had a journey. There's a game getting made, and you're making choices, and you're making mistakes. Because that's such an uncommon story. Yeah. It tied people to caring about this universe before it was something they even had the chance to look at or play.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we're just about at time, so we do want to wrap some things up. I do want to ask, we'll start with you, any closing thoughts? Anything you want to end on for the fine folks in the audience, except for the guy you squinted at?
The things I'd say is Strange Scaffolds. You can follow them and us everywhere. We just made Space Warlord Baby Trading Simulator. Consider giving it a shot. And consider taking the game that has been hanging around your neck for a long period of time and just finding a way to ship it. In the process of doing that, you will find closure and you will find ways to become a better game developer in the future, I promise. And that's valid whether you have a hit on your hands or whether you just have something that you quietly believe in and you don't know if anyone else ever will.
Yeah, nice. Very good. Yeah, I think that, and even humanizing and all that is so very important, especially nowadays. So absolutely. And Chris, all right, you.
Yeah, one thing I'd say is also just to step back just real quick about content creation or being a dev. If you don't have a real cool leather jacket, it's okay too. Like or if you're not if you're not charismatic, that's also okay.
Yeah.
Because I find there are games out there that nobody knows about, and I scrape Steam to find out these little hidden gems in there. They have no social media presence. They're not on YouTube. And they do very well because the game is so fun, and there are alternate ways. Like, you can be the front and center and have a really great content creation, but you can also just make this awesome game that just spreads by word of mouth. There are multiple, I think just to wrap it back around, there's multiple avenues to find this thing. You don't have to be super charismatic. I know a lot of devs are like, oh my God, you're telling me I have to be on camera? That is okay, you don't have to be. There are certain games that actually do very well without a front-facing. But
you can build a holistic strategy around not being front-facing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I just I'll close, howtomarketagame.com/free. I have a free book. Are we really closing this thing? Are we really wrapping it up?
We don't have to. We can just keep talking.
Well, I just want to make one last thing. I partnered with Unity, and the first 300 people who came in were going to get my marketing course for free. So you're going to get a free coupon emailed to you.
But it's your Oprah moment. You gotta.
Oh yeah, I gotta. You get a course. You get a course. So basically, if you're. It pays to be punctual, so we're trying to reward punctuality. So it's an important skill to have, folks. So kids, be on time. So the first 300 people in the door got the thing. You're going to get it emailed to you.
You'll get an email. I really, really wanted to be like, everyone check under your seats. There's nothing under your seats, which would have been really funny to be like, what? I don't know. Yeah, but no, that's awesome. And for the first 300 people that showed up today, registered, you will get an email with that code. Check it out. It's awesome content. What was the website again? howtomarketagame.com/free for the book, and then pro game marketing for the courses that I do. Yeah, there you go. And howtomarketagame.com/benchmarks is the other link. Since we don't have the visuals, we figured we'd just say the names more. So thank you both very much. Go.
I was going to say, and if you're not one of the first 300 and you find me like a Korok, I will give you a tiny alien baby. So. Shoot that baby!
Will you make the Korok sound, though?
I can.
Let's hear it.
You should. I will eventually look more and more pathetic, but I'll do it.
Do it. I'll
do anything.
All right, fine. When you find him later, he'll make this out. There you go. Well, okay. So thank you both very, very much for being here, for just sharing your wisdom, sharing your insights, for making this fun. Thank you all, everyone, for spending your time with us here today. Thank you for celebrating indies, being indies, and let's party.